Everyone treats summer like it owes you happiness. Long days, pool parties, your best life on a loop. So what does it mean when you feel worse? The summer blues are real. It's why summer is one of the busiest stretches of the year for people starting therapy. Therapy is not only for when you're in crisis. Grow therapy is for all the moments when you decide you want more. More support, more clarity, more tools. Mental health isn't a destination you reach. It's something you build, and Grow makes that easier. Grow connects you with thousands of high-quality licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions, nights and weekends. You can search by what matters, like insurance, specialty, identity, or availability, and get started in as little as 2 days. There are no subscriptions, no long-term commitments. You just pay per session. Grow helps you find therapy on your time. The therapist you want takes your insurance on Grow. Grow accepts over 125 insurance plans. Sessions average $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/book now today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/book now. growtherapy.com/book now. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
This is Stephanie Diaz de Leon.
This is Omar Waheed.
This is Abby Maxey.
And this is Rob Chappell.
And it's 365 Amplified. We're a little smaller today.
Yeah.
A little bit.
A little bit. The kids have scattered to the winds. Not really.
No.
Not really.
They're just taking up.
They're getting back. They're ramping up their semester.
Yeah.
Is starting soon.
Yep.
A couple of them will linger with us.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of them
Suckers.
will move on. Yeah.
No, we're excited to have them.
Always.
You're all here. Yeah, it's great.
Always. Before we get going, one thing I want to plug that you may have seen in your inbox. September 12th. Circle the date on your calendar, especially if you enjoy soccer.
Even if you don't.
Even if you don't, and just want a nice night out.
Uh-huh.
September 12th is Madison365 Night at Forward Madison. We have a ticket deal just for you. $20 tickets in section 112, which is a pretty good deal.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
Plus fees is like $24 total.
Mm-hmm.
$35 if you want a hat. They'll throw in a hat for an extra $6.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good.
Yeah, $6 hat. You can, but we also have a booth and stuff, and you can stop and say hi to us. That link is I made a short link for you. It'll be in the show notes also, and I'll email you 1,000 times between now and then. So watch for that. But if you don't want to click on a link, go to bit.ly/forward Madison365
Is this your way of telling me I have to go?
if you want to.
Yeah, no. Someone has to
No,
work
he's
up boots
telling
with
you.
personality and.
So, yes, someone with personality who's not going to sit quietly behind the booth.
Are we getting wristbands with free drink tickets again?
No, that unfortunately.
I'm sorry, I can't. Make
You
it.
are unable to attend.
I'm actually.
You are
Are we-
unable to attend. No, it'll be a
plugging
fun night.
personal promo because I am doing a
Personal
panel with other journalists about AI. The
Ooh.
Isthmus is hosting it.
Oh, okay.
So
When's that?
that is September 17th, 6 p.m. at Cargo Coffee. It's going to be me, Judith Davidoff, Mike Wagner from UW-Madison, and the moderator is our very own Angela Russell.
Oh, all right.
Yay.
That sounds actually really. I might want to come to that. That's very
I
cool.
know.
Yeah.
It's a
We'll
Thursday
see.
night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just be mad at robots.
Everyone be mad at robots.
Is that Cargo Coffee on East Wash?
That is the Cargo Coffee on East
The
Wash.
birthplace of Madison 365?
Is it that one? I kind of,
Okay.
for some reason, I thought the one it was
That's where they
the
all
one on Park Street. I
decided.
was like, this is so small for a birthplace.
No, it was the East Wash one that we gathered at every week for 3 months
Yeah.
as we were forming the idea for this place. Cool. Thanks for that, Omar. We'll definitely watch out for that. Want to update on the ongoing fight over evidence and the shooting death of Corey Ruiz. It's in some ways it's not even about that anymore, but it's
No,
about
it's not.
precedent.
Yeah.
It's about like how it's going to go next time.
It's also about whether we recognize it or not, how we preserve systems.
Yes.
right? Systems that are familiar and are often a way to hold power for certain folks in certain identities and certain positions.
And how holding information is the same
It's
as holding
always
power.
Yep, it's always power about
Right?
power.
So to get to kind of recap, the Office of the Independent Monitor didn't exist last time we had an officer involved shooting death. And so state law and police policy doesn't really know what to do with it. The ordinance that formed the office says that office is to have unfettered access to basically all information that the police have, with some limitations in terms of personnel records and stuff like that. But in a case like this, where there's an investigation that has to happen, it is presumed in the ordinance that they will have unfettered access and that the MPD will share all of its evidence with the Office of the Independent Monitor. Independent Monitor, Aramika Glass, is investigating that killing. It's not like she can't do anything until she gets the police evidence, because there's lots of other evidence.
Yeah.
Right? There's witnesses, some of whom may not be comfortable talking to the police department. So she might have, I don't know this for sure, but she may have witnesses that the police department doesn't have. She also has all the cell phone video we all saw. She also has other independent experts and stuff that she can engage with that the police may or may not be doing. But at the same time, all the dash cam video, all the interview statements from the officers, etc., would be very helpful to her investigation.
Yep.
And the delay in that does impede her investigation. Now, there's also a criminal investigation being done by the Department of Justice, the State Department of Justice Division of Criminal Investigations. That's in terms of, as far as the city of Madison is concerned, that's the investigation. That's the only one that can happen right now. Right? And therefore, DCI has full access to all the evidence that MPD has, including all those dash cam videos, etc. And it's the position of City Attorney Michael Haas that MPD cannot share that information with the Office of the Independent Monitor until DCI has completed their investigation. He cites state law, etc. I've questioned this. I've questioned him on this several times, as have alders, as have other people. And so earlier this week, on Monday, he put out a memo, 11-page memo, kind of explicating more why he thinks this is the case. And the only question that he answered that hadn't been answered before in that memo, because what they've always said is that if we share this evidence with OIM, it would interfere with the Division of Criminal Investigations investigation. And I kept asking how. In what way would that interfere? How would that impede DCI at all? I asked DCI that specifically, and they didn't say that it would. They answered my question, but didn't. Like, they responded to the email. So it's not like they ignored it, but they did say, we protect the integrity of all investigations. So they basically didn't say that it would interfere, but they didn't say it wouldn't either. But they didn't say it would. Michael Haas told me before he put out this memo that DCI has not asked the police department to withhold the evidence from OIM. The DCI has not given any direction either way. Michael Haas got the impression that they wanted to treat this like any other criminal investigation, and I don't know what that means exactly. So anyway, I'm going to read a couple paragraphs, so bear with me, from this memo. And basically what he said is that turning evidence over to OIM would interfere with DCI's investigation. No, he didn't say that. He said it could.
Yeah, I was going to say,
that's different.
That it might.
It's a lot of speculation. Okay, so let me just read this real quick. Those factors require a delay in MPD or DCI providing investigative records to the OIM. While the independent monitor, the police chief, and the public all have a desire for more transparency more quickly, Wisconsin Statute 175.47 requires a delay in MPD sharing its records with the OIM until the DCI investigation is no longer open and active, or until DCI determines that sharing specific records will not interfere with its investigation. Pause. No, it does not say that.
Yeah, I was going to say, does it say that?
No.
Because at the time that it was written, OIM did not exist, right?
Right.
So of course it doesn't apply if an office of such would exist either.
No. That statute does not say anything about sharing records.
Yeah.
At all. It's silent on the question. All it says is that, it basically says the police department may do its own internal investigation as long as that investigation doesn't interfere with the criminal investigation. So
they are expanding the language to then apply, which is interesting. That's a choice.
Right.
That's a choice, y'all.
So they're applying that language.
They're expanding the exact language to apply to the OIM,
which is not an internal investigation.
No.
The statute is silent on the question of a second external investigation.
Yeah.
It doesn't prohibit it.
And so it's a matter of whether the language that is presented is explicit or implicit, right? So does an internal investigation mean anyone
within the city? Or
are you talking about like the police department investigating themselves?
Exactly, right. Okay, so back to the text of this memo. Interference is not limited to concepts such as obstructing the investigation or compromising evidence that can also mean simply affecting the course of the investigation by requiring DCI to alter its approach to accommodate requests of the OIM or to react to any investigative actions of the OIM. Okay, I'm listening. It is not difficult to anticipate the potential in which release of the investigative records could interfere with the progress of the outside criminal investigation. Investigative agencies typically have a roadmap for completing investigations that involves review of police reports and forensic evidence, as well as a sequence of interviews with witnesses, including the officers involved. At the very least, reviewing evidence to determine whether it can be released to the OIM would take time, attention, and resources away from time of the completion of the investigation. Which is why, pausing again, the Office of the Independent Monitor is not asking DCI
they're not going
for evidence.
They're asking the Madison Police Department.
Right.
Yes. She's not asking
DCI to pause to review evidence to see whether you can give it to me. She's asking the police department to do that. Okay, so that's a red herring. Back to the memo. Release of reports or other evidence could also lead the OIM to take actions that might affect the DCI investigation and its ability to obtain and preserve all relevant evidence. That's a very broad statement. Yeah. Investigators and prosecutors must also be mindful of legal and procedural obligations that impact any potential prosecution, including protecting against improperly influencing a possible pool of jurors and other actions that could jeopardize a potential prosecution. That I'm sympathetic to that, but that relates to like public release.
Well, I was that supposes that OIM is going to release a report before DCI's investigation is done, right? And or during or after, in such a way that it would impact a pool of folks.
Right, exactly.
Or potential jurors.
Right, which is why if the DA, in a case like this, if the district attorney decides to file charges, they wouldn't release the DCI report until after the trial for that very reason. And you can't assume that OIM necessarily would or wouldn't release stuff publicly. So that's part of it. That we don't know whether the OIM would release this publicly, and we want to preserve the jury pool. Okay, I can see that. Any number of actions taken by the OIM as a result of reviewing investigation records may impact the DCI investigation. The City of Madison or its agencies is not in a position to anticipate or determine how its actions might interfere with the DCI investigation. Only DCI can do that. So, after spending 2 paragraphs anticipating or determining how its actions might interfere, Mike Haas says we can't actually do that. So, that seems to contradict everything that he just wrote. So anyway, that's the most relevant section of this 11-page memo. I, as you can tell, I don't find it convincing.
It's a lot of supposition, right? There's a lot of ifs in the conversation that there's
all ifs and may and anticipating and
it's
speculating.
Expanding law.
Yeah,
is it like it's expanding law to apply to this very specific instance, where there is no language unless you interpret, and they are interpreting language that
if I'm generous, I'll say that they're
interpreting.
They're erring on the side of caution, I guess, and waiting for a court to weigh in.
Well, yeah, they've set up a court case. They have set up a court case for this to go to court for whoever it is. At the same time, I'm sure while the city is re-looking about, because the current OIM, she is interim.
Mm-hmm.
I am sure are looking at changing language for that PD, that position description, a bit, so they don't have this problem or this issue with regards to independence and et cetera. I am sure.
Well, I'm told the Police Civilian Oversight Board is reviewing the position description.
Sure,
for different reasons, but also I think maybe because civilian oversight has not been a part of Wisconsin criminal justice for very long, and there's nothing about it in state law. So maybe state law needs to be clarified by the legislature. Who knows if that can happen? But also maybe the police department's critical incident policy needs to be updated.
The thing is, like, whether they recognize it or not, they're setting up a court case where the court's going to say this is a matter of the legislator. I mean, that's my concern for them. It's like, why it feels like any court will say to them, if it's brought in the state of Wisconsin, will say, like, there is state law that says something, and if it needs to be clarified, it needs to come from them, not from the court, because otherwise the court is making new law, and that's not what we do here.
Right, which is why, state law is, like I said, is silent on the question of a second external investigation. And so you could say that so therefore it's allowed because it's not there, it's not prohibited. You could also say, well, no, it's actually prohibited because it's not explicitly allowed in the law. And you kind of need either you need the law to be updated, or you need a court to kind of weigh in. And we know that the current independent police monitor is considering, or has retained an attorney. When and how they're going to take that to court, we don't know yet. The other thing I'll mention is that there's been a lot of talk about the current occupant of that office and whether or not she's objective and impartial. I don't think she would claim to be. However, the current position description does require that she be. What it says is that that the monitor, whoever it is, will pursue investigations in an objective, fair, and impartial manner. And as a journalist, that we don't really do objectivity, but we do fairness as much as we can. Which means when I cover a protest, for example, I don't participate in the protest.
Yeah.
Right. Even if I'm sympathetic to the cause, I don't want to be. If I'm going to write a story about this protest, I don't want to be seen on video chanting along with them. I would probably come up with the same story because I'm a professional, but also I just don't want to be seen. Like, I want to be credible. She has been participating in the protests, and I think, that's not prohibited in any way. And I'm sympathetic to the idea that maybe the police department does need a balance that isn't necessarily impartial, right? That is sort of opposed to the police department, but also that can lead to the impression among the public that she's assuming the police did something wrong and is now investigating to find evidence to prove that point, which is not the way oversight is necessarily supposed to work. So I kind of get that. All that said, there's nothing in the ordinance that says you have to that the independent monitor needs unfettered access to all your information if you like them. Or if you think they're acting right. On your
side,
right. It doesn't matter who the occupant of the office is and your opinion of that person and how they're conducting themselves. Unfettered access means unfettered access. And there's a whole other thing that they were looking into, because a lot of what that office is supposed to do isn't necessarily reacting to complaints, right? It's like asking questions and looking at data and looking at sort of big trends. And one of the things they were working on before this all started with the shooting of Corey Ruiz, they were looking at data about use of dogs in law enforcement, and dogs bite black people more than they bite white people in MPD. Like that's just kind of a thing that they found, and so they were asking for data about that, and the data was not forthcoming. And this is what I'm told. I haven't seen all the evidence of this yet, but that MPD has not responded with full information on that particular question. So like this lack of sharing is still kind of an ongoing thing, and there is some tension in the personalities, but these are systems. These shouldn't be governed by personalities.
But it often is,
But
and they're built that way.
The reality of the situation.
And those are the people who are building them with their personalities in mind and at the forefront of how they're moving things. And it's not personalities. What I'm going to call it is it's ego. There's ego involved in here. It's not just personalities. Let's name it what it is. It's ego, which is, well, I don't have to do this because I don't like you, or I don't know I like how you approach me, and I don't like this thing or that thing. If your concern was about the presence of the, I am in existence in your town or city, have that conversation in a public setting and have, and stuff like that. But if this feels targeted because we don't like a person, that's problematic. And that's what it's feeling like this is about ego more than anything else.
Yeah. Related to this, as we talked about last week, the memorial site, the protest site at the site where Corey was killed, it was cleared, and the Common Council is hosting a Q&A where it's not public comment, but it will be broadcast so you can watch it. So it'll be streamed online that you can watch it. But the alders are going to ask questions of the mayor and the police chief and some other city officials about that process, about the decision-making process, about the actual way it was done.
They're doing it at the site?
Are they?
Are they?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, I was going to say, they're going to get filleted.
Yeah. No, I think I'm reasonably sure it'll just be like in the regular council chamber.
Oh.
But it's not the public asking questions, because that would take 6 hours. And not to say that shouldn't happen necessarily.
Oh, it will take 6 hours.
It'll still probably take 6 hours because there are alders who are not happy with the way it happened, and I'm sure there are other alders who are perfectly fine with it, and and Madison alders are not particularly known for brevity, and will certainly couch their questions with lots of statements, probably. So it will take a while, and then we'll kind of, I'm sure they'll sort of line into factions. But again, that's happening Monday, and you can watch that and see what the mayor and police chief have to say about that. So still lots to come on all these things. Let's talk about something more fun. Let's talk about Filipino food.
I'm so jealous right now.
Good transition.
I know.
Yeah, right?
So jealous.
Yeah. Abby, you have a piece coming on a food truck?
Yes, Las Islas Filipinas. If you're around Madison, you may have heard of them. They just started back in May, so definitely
they're brand new.
They're brand new, yeah. And it's really amazing how popular they've become in such a short amount of time. On Facebook, they have over 1,100 followers already, and they're constantly busy. They were telling me that their customers are consistent and they always have the same people coming back.
Get some regulars.
Stuff, yes, regardless of where they are. And they're all around Madison. They go far and they get the same people coming back.
Oh, that's cool.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. They get like groupies that follow them around.
Yes, literally.
So do they have any spots where you can kind of expect to find them?
Yeah, so from what it sounded like, they attend SSM clinics a lot, as well as the Boneyard, but they so far have been in different places every week. And yeah, it's really cool. They actually had a menu item. Their ube tres leches cake went viral on social media, and for a couple weeks there, I guess it was selling out within 30 minutes every day.
Wow.
They had people coming in just to get that cake.
That's so cool.
And Michelle Perez, who's one of the main founders of this food truck, she's originally a baker, and so she's brought in a lot of her influences from the Philippines and sort of combined that with like a fusion Filipino food and American, trends. And she has a Dubai chocolate cake as well. So it's really cool, and they have really delicious food, and it's also just a meaningful thing for the Filipino community here in Madison.
Mm-hmm.
There's no Filipino restaurant that exists here.
I've looked, y'all. I'm from San Diego, and so I grew up with a lot of Filipino food because our neighbors were kind enough to share food. We used to all exchange food with each other and stuff like that, and so I've looked and I've been sad about it. So I'm super excited. There's this food truck here. And I'm also, am I on their menu right now? Yes, I am. And it's delicious looking. Adobo rice bowl looks amazing. And I want this, the lumpia. Like, I love lumpia.
Classic.
A classic, lovely, so easy, but so, like, in terms of, like, it's such an easy snack and such, but so good. So amazing. Good. And so it's taken for granted. Once you move away from it, you're like, oh, I used to eat that every day.
Yes. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think they're planning on expanding to Puerto Rican cuisine.
Oh, nice.
Oh, really?
Yeah. El Perez, also part of the food truck, is Puerto Rican. So I think that's eventually their goal, is to expand their menu. But it is also hard because they are just a food truck, so don't have a lot of like prep space and things like that. So their goal is ultimately to expand to a brick and mortar restaurant. But until then, if you want to check them out, you can look at their Facebook page, Las Islas Filipinas LLC. They have a frequent update of where they are each week. So if you're trying to locate them, you can find them there.
All right. We'll have a link to that, and you'll have that story up at Madison365.org. Staying on food, Omar, tell us about Madison Metro School District and their how they're feeding kids.
For 19 schools across MMSD, students get free breakfast and lunch, which is very exciting, I think. At least we do talk about this sometimes, how it has been proven that it is absolutely cheaper to give all the students free meals instead of having to administer and create a payment platform. So that's going to be free for 19 schools. The list is on there, but it's part of a federal program that's reimbursing the school district for that. So it's no cost to the taxpayers because, people getting up in arms over that. It's a community eligibility provision program. And yeah, just
is it all levels of schools, or are they all elementary schools, or what's the?
It's all elementary and middle schools. Gotcha. There's no high schools on the list, which I found kind of weird, but I was looking at the program, and this program has been around since 2014. Wisconsin has been in it before. I don't know if Madison specifically, but they were in when it actually launched nationwide before, and it shows a very positive impact just across the board.
Yeah.
There was a national study that congregated all the school districts that were involved in this program, and all of them report better participation in classes, better attendance, better test scores, better health, better everything. There's no downsides to having this.
Yeah. It's always basically at the end of every school year, there's some feel-good, heartwarming story about some anonymous donor who paid off all the school lunch debt. And that sounds nice, but then you got to ask, like, why is there such a thing as school lunch debt?
Exactly.
Right?
And we've seen systems change to remove that barrier, right? And have a positive impact, right? So we know at a nationwide level during the times of COVID, that go away, and how positive of an impact that had on families, on students, on teachers, on everybody.
Yeah.
Right. And we saw how quickly the system moved. All the time we hear all this thing about how it's so hard to change a system. It's so hard to move a system. It's so slow. And yet, when it needed to, it did it quickly.
No.
And proactively.
Those were unprecedented times.
I don't care.
It doesn't matter, but
I don't care.
The point is, you could do it, and you could also do it.
You choose to do it. It's still an important unprecedented time that children are coming to school starving.
Right.
That is unprecedented. That is not something that we should aim for. And and the fact that we perpetually allow that to happen,
and the only reason,
a choice.
And as you're saying, Omar, there's no reason not to, except that some of us feel like people need to deserve stuff.
They have to earn those things.
I like the complaint where people say, "Oh, I don't want my tax dollars going to give kids free lunch," but your tax dollars are already going towards it to give a more expensive lunch.
Yeah,
right. Because you have, like you say, you have to administer the payment platform. You have to do all the paperwork to get some kids eligible for free lunch.
You have to pay for the staff that has to monitor and manage that platform as well.
Yeah,
and that's not like a staff person. That's a couple of people.
And it's just easier and cheaper just to feed everybody.
Yeah.
Here's
Especially for compulsory sending them to school.
Right.
I was just curiously looking at the studies because, it's been proven that it's cheaper, irrefutably. How much cheaper? They increased the production costs during COVID because, you had to wrap everything in 5 feet of plastic for that time. It doubled the production cost, but without all the administrative parts, it was still cheaper.
It was still cheaper. So we also know, it is cost effective as well for schools,
because you get
for states, for everybody across the nation. We know that it's cheaper.
You get something out of it, even if it costs the same or wasn't cheaper. Like you get something out of it.
But it is cheaper.
It is cheaper.
But it is cheaper.
There's no excuse not to do it now.
And it's cheaper, and kids learn better.
Yes,
absolutely.
Teachers are able to teach better.
Yeah.
Because they're not worried about it. And the number of teachers and administrators and school folk who work for the school, who are also helping to support students by filling this gap, by making sure they have snacks available for their students, by making sure they have some sort of breakfast available for the students, or even helping to pay off those lunch balances so students don't feel overwhelmed. You've also, they're already paid the lowest that they can be, most of these teachers and such. Now they're also having to spend money to help support their students so they can be fully participating in learning, right? They're also helping to fill a gap here with their own money as well. Could you imagine what money they would save if we
If it just fed everybody? Well, so
fed everybody.
It'll be interesting.
And you know what? Fed everybody and save that and use that money to either pay more teachers more or supply them better.
Right. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see at the end of this year what the outcomes are, or how those 19 schools feeding kids actually benefits the school district. And I would imagine they'll have some sort of data.
Oh yeah.
At the end of the year.
Yeah.
One last education note before we take a break. One City Schools is currently chartered by the University of Wisconsin because it was the idea of being a charter school with Madison Metro School District was rejected way back in the day, 2011. And that might be changing. The board voted 6-0 with one. Nikki Vandermeulen was absent and has said she would have voted no. So take note of that. So it would have been 6-1 to move forward with potentially chartering One City through Madison Metro School District. That's not approved yet, but it's the first step in looking into that option. Basically, they voted to accept the application and explore the partnership. So by either next spring 2027, maybe fall 2028, we'll get a decision on whether or not One City Schools will officially become part of Madison Metro School District as a charter school.
Do we think that's a good thing or a bad thing? Because I'm still anti-charter school. One City School is, of course, an exception, but as I've said in my argument about charter schools, most of them are exceptions when they're doing well and outperforming. So what do we think?
I think people and I actually wrote something about this a few years ago. I think there's some people conflate voucher schools with charter schools.
No, those are completely different.
Yeah,
completely different things.
And I'm still anti-charter school,
which is fine. Yeah, I'm more open to charter schools than I am to voucher schools, to be honest. Although there are also exceptions to voucher schools. I mean, Lighthouse Christian School is a voucher school, and they outperform every school on every measure. That said, it still makes me look easy to have public money go into a church. For me, I think charters are interesting in that they create an alternative. I think alternatives are good, generally speaking, especially for students of color. That sort of exploring and serving as sort of laboratories for different modes of learning, different modes of pedagogy, etc. I'm open to it. I'm probably more open to it than you are, but but I totally get the hesitancy. What do you think, Abby?
About charter schools?
Yeah.
I don't really. Can you expand upon your anti-charter school argument? I'm not really familiar.
Do you know what charter schools are?
I'm familiar with charter schools, but I haven't heard the argument against them.
So largely charter schools underperform in almost all outcomes than just public school. That's it.
Oh, that's it.
They take away some level of public dollars. Not really that much, but still, it diverts people and it creates a large population of students who are underperforming as they go forward in their academic careers. That could lead to more worse outcomes, less college attendance, so on and so forth. But there are some really good ones that are doing exceptionally well. It is a great equitable path for students, professionals, people of color who want to be teachers but don't really fit into that standard public school environment, and private schools are, but I only believe in public schools.
Hmm.
So, Abby, what's your thoughts?
Well, I probably have a little bit of a unique perspective because I went to public school for high school, but then all before that I was homeschooled because my family moved around so much.
Yeah.
And I saw both sides of the argument for homeschooling, where I felt like maybe socially I could have benefited from going to a public school. And so I think it probably is more situational than like a broad statement of being like, it's entirely bad, because it depends on the individual as well and what their needs are, like you were saying. So I struggle to make like a blanket statement, I guess, about my feelings.
Yeah, it's kind of complicated too, because I grew up in a really poor urban area where charter schools started as a way to allow, for example, teenage girls who got pregnant, a place for them to continue to their education and get to a high school diploma. And some of my friends that I was growing up went through that process, and I saw something positive for them. However, their experience only got them to a place where they could get a high school diploma, but not prepare them for a future choice. However, the charter school did help them recognize technical schools for them to go to and or community colleges, so they could have a different choice in a different way. And they recognize and acknowledge, like, we're not going to be able to prepare, or students who got suspended or expelled, they had a different place to go, right? So they didn't lose the opportunity to continue to learn, especially under expulsion too. So I had a lot of friends who also, I had a lot of fun friends. Okay, none of your business. They're all good people. They had hard times, but or who were also expelled. Like they went to a charter school instead, so they could get themselves to a point where they could get a GED or a high school diploma, not just a GED. And I also had a lot of friends where we grew up where, some of us were there to, like, we had to go to school, but some of my friends and some of us all had jobs, but some of us had jobs to help support our families, right? And so the flexibility of a charter school let them get to a high school diploma and work full time at the same time. So my experience of charter schools is very, very different. And then the charter school was like, hey, we're not going to get you to a 4-year college, but we're going to get you to a 2-year either technical school or to go to community college, so you can think about a future or some education and training and skill setting that could get you to where you need to go. And so, like, my experience of charter schools is very different. I understand where they make sense in certain spaces and areas. I don't know that they always make sense for every school district, though. And that's my concern about that, right? Like, are there public schools who are doing good? And what is it that made us need a charter school? Is it to fill some sort of gap? And what is the gap that we're trying to fill, right? And I think that's an important conversation. And I think everybody has a responsibility to have that conversation about, like, including the schools, districts, and the schools themselves, or charter schools themselves. However, the one thing about charter schools too is if you are failing, we pull your charter. And I don't know that happens as much as it's supposed to. Like, that's my other concern. I am not sure, like, we've become so feeling that it's so necessary that we don't review them and hold them under scrutiny like they're supposed to be, because their name is charter. Like, there's a reason why they're called charter schools. You have an agreement that you're doing this thing and you're going to do it well. If not, we pull the charter.
Yeah. And I think there's also, we should mention, there are charter schools that do have specific charters,
Goals.
right? Specific goals. And some of them are like the ones you're talking about, where
that's the ones I grew up
aren't fitting in so much or aren't
because
being served.
Of family choices, because of life choices, because of other things.
Yeah.
Even some were with kids in high school who had a language gap. Like they slowed school down for them to like.
There's also some charter schools in Milwaukee, for example, that are specific to subject areas that are like science focused or STEM focused, or for kids who are advanced in math and science and are preparing and that can help to prepare for like Ivy League educations in ways that a public school maybe couldn't. So there's a broad range of reasons to have charter schools, but like you said, they really should identify
that reason,
what the gap is that you're looking for,
and what the
MMSD.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think that will be a point of discussion.
And I hope someone asks that question, right? Yeah. Like, and then also like, what is the expectation for parents and students to expect when their kids get to that point?
Right. And
because I don't know that, like, I've had folks who I went to school with or who I in college and or folks I've known around who did go to charter schools for these specific STEM and or other programs and stuff like that were going to prepare them for, they say, an Ivy League experience. However, when they got to the Ivy League, they were not prepared for the Ivy League experience.
Really work out. Yeah.
Like, because it doesn't, if your charter school doesn't like recognize what is expected of somebody at an Ivy League, you're not prepared for that drama.
Right.
It's like being at a PWI. You're not prepared for that drama if you've never grown up around,
I think we'll have
mostly white folks.
We'll have the school founder Colleen Kerr on the show here at some point during this process and kind of maybe ask him that question. But I think one thing he has talked about a lot is the achievement gap, the disparity in between white and black students in Madison Metro School District, which is large in terms of reading and arithmetic like scores. You know.
And has continuously been large.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I could see the argument where it's like, why can't we just use that instead of creating a whole different school? Why can't we just pour more resources into the schools that already exist in the public school?
Right.
or the question is, why haven't they? And if they have, in what way? What has been successful and what hasn't?
Well, but then that's also an argument for the charter school. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
The charter school can figure out how to do it.
There's a question for everybody. That's why I said, like, the question isn't just for one city school. It's for the city of Madison. It's for MMSD. It's for parents. And like, that question is for all of you to have.
We also remember, like, back in 2011 when Colleen was first trying to create a charter school specifically for black students, the resistance at that time was pure racism.
Yeah.
And like, you can't have a school for black children.
Well, we have schools for white children.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's all the schools.
Yeah.
Right?
All the time.
So it's interesting to see how that has evolved in 15 years. That now the school district is more open to the idea of a school that it's not only for black students. We shouldn't say that. We should mention that it has to be open to all students, but it is kind of that's kind of the point of its existence. Yeah. So. Anyway, we will follow that as it goes along. And I said, we'll have Colleen on the show and we'll continue to follow that. We're going to take a short pause and we'll be back right after this. And we're back, and the interview we had planned had to reschedule, so we'll have a very good interview next week. But in the meantime, we actually had a really good interview this week on my other show, the 608 Soccer Show, and we are not above occasional crossover. So I'm going to drop in here our interview on the 608 Soccer Show with Chris Pennant, who has a master's degree in journalism from the Medill School, which at Northwestern, which it's sort of like Harvard Law, it's like the place to go if you want a very fancy master's degree in journalism. But he's also the PA guy, the public address announcer for Forward Madison. And he's fantastic at it. And it was a very fun sort of behind the scenes interview. One thing to know that if you don't attend Forward Madison games regularly, one of the things he started doing in the past couple of weeks is every time Forward Madison's goalkeeper makes a good save, he takes on his Gandalf voice and says, "You shall not score." And it was very funny. So he makes reference to where that comes from and how that started. So just beware of that. And here's that interview. It's me hosting the 608 Soccer Show with my co-host Ethan Maurice. And we'll be back after this interview with our roundtable question. And joining us now, a voice you've heard many times this year, more than previous years, because there's a lot more goals to announce than we've had in previous years. The voice of the Mingos, Christopher Pennant. How you doing, sir?
Good, Rob, Ethan. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I think we people love this sort of behind the scenes stuff because, like, so most of it's just sort of a disembodied voice and we want to let people. You don't actually live in the press box, like you actually have a life. You like come to the game like we do and everything. So we just want to talk a little bit about that. Are you in Chicago?
Yes, I'm in. I live up on the north side of Chicago right now. So that's where I am right now.
And you commute up here for game days?
Yep. Yeah. Most of the time I'll drive up. My call time is an hour and a half before kickoff. So for a Saturday game that starts at 7, I've got to be there at 5:30. So I'll leave the city around 2, head up I-90, and then get into town. Try to get in town a little early to give myself some extra time on the Wednesday night games. Maybe a little earlier to beat an afternoon rush. But
sure.
I'll maybe hang around a bit, see, talk to some of the staff, and then head back home.
And what are you doing in that hour and a half before the game? Are you practicing pronunciations, or how are you preparing? How do you prepare, I guess, for a game?
That's true. That's a lot of it. When I'm right, and I try to do this more often than not, unless I have some work conflict the day before a game, I'll check the schedule and look up the team's roster and see if there's any difficult pronunciations. And I'll check just about everyone because there's some guys who have a name that you think, that's pronounced Charlie and it's pronounced like, Ashford or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's fun for League One because there's a little less spotlight. So you have to dig a little deeper. If they went to a college and the media guide had a pronunciation for them there, or if they've got the best one is if they have an interview, something like this, and they say their own name out loud. That is the holy grail of, yes, thank you so much. Because announcers and like me and broadcasters do their best, but sometimes they get it wrong or they have bad information. So a lot of it is checking pronunciations, and I'll see who has the most starts, who has the most minutes, to see who's probably going to come in the game and be on the starting lineup. And then I don't know, just kind of get a feel for the team.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there a particular team or name that sticks out as they always have tough names?
Oh, that's a good question. The last team that we had in was that Greenville or was that Charlotte?
It was Greenville. It's Charlotte this coming weekend.
Okay.
This last home game was Greenville, yeah.
Okay, yeah. That was actually kind of a tough one. They had some names that were a little difficult. There was, I think when New York came in, they had a few Italian players. And I try to be exact, but there's only so much you can do with elocution if you're not used to the language. So, saying Luca Mastro Antonio is not always easy, and it's not always going to come across on the stadium PA microphone. So I do my absolute best, but those have been the ones that have really come up like, oh, that's a tough one. Actually, I really enjoyed when Luca Dorado was here because I wanted to draw that out. It's a fun name to say with the assonance and just kind of the vowel sounds. This is the stuff that I think about that goes into this.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're looking for. That's why we wanted to interview you. Good.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I get the name that ends in O when they score. Like that's going to be one that's going to drag out, right?
Stretch it out.
Awesome.
Stretch it out.
You also started, I maybe did last year, but I didn't notice, but you also started to sort of announce the goals in Spanish after.
Yeah.
Was that something new this year or was that last year?
It was this year. I'd been thinking about it, but it wasn't something that stuck or that I made a note to do. And I think just knowing that there are Spanish speaking fans that for Forward or people who are coming in maybe to support the other team, when they had that game against the Chivas 2 a couple of years back, I remember thinking, I was like, oh, this would probably be helpful. Because I studied Spanish in school for about 16 years. And even though my conversational Spanish isn't great, I know enough. And I wanted to bring that experience in too. So I'm trying to stretch that to the substitutions, to some of the other run of play things. outside of goals. I was trying to do yellow cards last game, and it's a challenge for me. It's been fun.
And then that's not something the club asked you to do. That's just something you just started to add yourself.
No, honestly, this is why I enjoy Forward. It's not like, Chris, go up there and do what you want, but they give me free reign to experiment, to try some things. Like a couple games ago, so this year we have the second half promotion where Johnson Financial donates money for every save in the second half, and so JT's pretty much been 90 minutes guy every time,
right?
And you've seen how he's played. He's a great goalkeeper. And so we had that game, I think it was 3 weeks ago, and Ashley, who's up in the booth, who writes up the itinerary and checks in with me on lineups, and then if we have to make any changes, she was dying because I was like, I'm going to put a Lord of the Rings spin on this, and I said, you shall not score. And I heard the flock was really enjoying it, but Ashley's like, don't jinx us. Please don't jinx us. and it went over. I knew it went over because I went to the Forward Club for that game. I hadn't gone in a while, so I figured I should come in and stay for one. And I ended up talking to Coach Glazer's, I think, significant other, Sarah, who I didn't realize that until he came in. And she's like, where'd you come up with that? It's like, that was really fun. It's like, Matt is a big Lord of the Rings fan, which I didn't know.
I did not know that either.
So when he came in, I asked him, did you like that? He's like, oh yeah, no, let's keep doing it.
That's funny. That's good.
Love it.
Everyone in Breeze Stevens does work together to get the 3 points. I really do appreciate going to Breeze. Even from the ladies pouring the beer, like the guest relations, it seems like everybody is in the knowledge about soccer and knows how to do what their little job is to help the team go on. Are you a big soccer guy, or do you more come from the PA and public announcement angle? Or how did you get to here?
Without waffling, I would say it's a bit of both. I played soccer growing up. I was young when MLS came into being, and so I got to watch those first really good Chicago Fire teams with DeMarcus Beasley, Peter Novak, Brian McBride. That was something that you could hang your hat on. And, soccer has been a thing in Chicago going back to the indoor league and the Sting. But I fell off after I stopped playing, and when those Fire teams went a little south. The 2010 World Cup is really what drew me back in to being a soccer fan and finding my own team. Everybody has kind of their overseas team, so I ended up picking one there. But I'd been doing PA and broadcast, striving for broadcast, still trying to get any broadcast work that I can. But I've been doing a bit of that regularly since 2011. Started out with roller derby, which I still do, and then picked up some other sports in the past few years. I do work from my high school in Chicago, St. Ignatius, for soccer, football, basketball, volleyball, all over the map. And so when I was looking up, I knew I'd done the job for the Ultimate Frisbee team here. And the job application came out on Teamwork, which is for sports broadcasters. People were looking for a job in sports. And I met with, then it was Taylor and Kylie, and got hired that way. So I had a soccer background, but it wasn't, I wouldn't call myself, knowing the people who are at Forward and knowing the people I know, I wouldn't call myself a big soccer fan.
Sure. Yeah, I got you. Who is your overseas team?
Okay, this is funny. Sheffield Wednesday.
That is funny. Nice. There you go. How did you end up with them?
As I said, there's a story there.
So when I picked a team, I didn't want to go with a front runner. That's, being a White Sox fan, that's never been my area of choice. So that knocked off Man U, Man City, even. My friend I was living with my friend from high school is a big Chelsea fan, but I didn't want to do that. And so I was pretty much like, okay, maybe I go outside the Premier League. Maybe I go outside the top flight. And so I looked a level down to see if there was any teams that stuck out. And I think that year, Leeds was down, Nottingham Forest, which is they're on the ascendancy. But my second criteria is like, well, my father was Jamaican, so is there any team with any Jamaican players? And Jermaine Johnson, I looked up a list of Jamaican players and found that he was playing on this team Sheffield Wednesday, which immediately caught my eyes. Like, how is there a team named Sheffield Wednesday? And I looked into them. Not only did they have Jermaine Johnson, they had this cool story about their ground that they played at since 1895. They started off as a cricket club, which also interests me. I just watched a really good documentary on cricket. And the Michael Palin evidently was a fan of them. There's a scene in his one of his travel shows where he picks up an old trophy that some fishermen pulled up and says, Sheffield Wednesday. So I went with it. It's been fantastic. The supporters group, they have a lot of American supporters, and everybody is very welcoming. I asked, how do I listen to games? And everybody immediately is like, here's how you do it. Here's how you get to iFollow. Here's how you get to the app. And then I got the chance to go over for a game in 2018.
Nice.
They went down to 9 men, if you believe it, and they lost 3-0. But everybody at the stadium and everybody outside Hillsborough was fantastic. So I love it. And we've had a tough couple of years, but ownership's just changed to a group in Northbrook, coincidentally. And I feel good about our chances at the ultimate goal, which has always been getting back to the Premier League.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. What a story. What a team.
I love it. Little Sheffield Wednesday trivia for you. Current Dane County clerk, Scott McDonald, actually had a tryout with Sheffield Wednesday.
Really?
Years, like in the early 80s. Like he played for the Badgers. He played for the Badgers. He was a goalkeeper for the Badgers in the 80s and did a little stint in England and got a tryout with Wednesday, before Premier League, obviously. Anyway, so you also, you went to J school.
Yeah.
Bradley Medill, which is like the J school, right?
For graduate school. Yeah.
What role does journalism play in what you do?
The most significant thing for me is being exact. So we talk about pronunciations. Mm-hmm. And I got the chance to tell Kerfala this, because I'll follow up with the guys over it after the game and was like, hey, am I saying your name right? And I tell them it's because not only do I hear sometimes where professionals, like longtime professionals, they'll get a name wrong. And I feel like that is a credibility issue at that point. It's like you might have done this research on the game. You might know the tendencies of players, team tactics, all of that adds into the game. But if you say somebody's name wrong and you don't fix it, at least, then I feel like you didn't prepare yourself. You didn't do your job. Your main thing is to correctly identify the people on the field. And the guys that I talk to, I tell them, it's like, hey, I know it might not matter to you. I don't know how much you watch back the game itself and you're listening for the commentary, but your mom probably is, or your grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles, and they hear that and they're like, oh, well, who is this guy? How did he mess my baby's name up? And so I really want that to be part of my process. You vet things, you track it down. If I hear somebody say the name once, I'm going to check again to make sure, find another source, find more sources, find more sources. So you get things as right as you possibly can. And then there is something to be said, I think, for immediacy versus accuracy, which is a big question in journalism, has been since the kind of the dawn of 24-hour news. And as much as I do want to get fans the information quickly, like yellow cards and things like that in the booth, we don't have our communication with the red hat on the near sideline is a little slow sometimes. So we check, and I'll check again. I want to make sure I have it exactly right before I say it, because I could see the referee say point to what looks like Jackson Castro, but it could be Roman. And if I haven't seen the number, or if I haven't seen gotten the communication like, oh, this is who got the yellow card, then I'm waiting to say it. So if there's ever a delay and people are wondering, that's the reason why. I want to make sure I've got it right.
Sure. You must love the cow kits then, huh?
I love all the kits that the teams had. I I think the ones that are most successful are the best ones. So I liked how everybody enjoyed the tartan ones because we got a little run of success in those. They're not. The Cal kits aren't the worst. They absolutely are not the worst. I think the ones, anytime we play a team where their primary color is green and then their secondary color is blue, that just somehow makes things impossible. I'll tell you this is a different sport, but for Ultimate Frisbee, Chicago has a rivalry with Minnesota, as you might expect. And Minnesota's uniforms are, main colors are black and white with a kind of a light blue number base. Those are impossible to read at any sort of distance. So you have to look, and this is a trick I picked up from Dennis Michelson in that league. Shout out to Dennis. He's a veteran and really good. I'll always write down sock length, sock color, boot color, something to distinguish who the player is. And you try to get it for the forwards and the midfielders since they're probably the ones who are going to be scoring. But anything I'll write down on the paper, and sometimes it'll be like, it's like long dreads parted to one side. It's like, that's how I know who that is. Anything that you can then pick out to make somebody identifiable, because things happen so fast, so quickly. Balls are bouncing around the box. You've got to be. That's the thing. You want to be exact. So that helps me be accurate.
We've had a couple of the ESPN Plus TV guys on the show over the past years, and that's one thing they say too is they look at shoe color and hair. Yeah. To be able to immediately identify who's who without having to rely on numbers. But what everything you just said is intriguing to me because I'm a journalist in my day job, so like I appreciate that. That this is third division American soccer that 10 years ago would not have been taken seriously. It still isn't really taken seriously by a lot of people. But these guys are obviously taking it seriously. This is their life's work to do this, and Matt Glazer's taking it seriously, and the club's taking it seriously, and it's just really, and we're doing this podcast to try to make it the best we can, and to hear that you're taking it that seriously in the booth is really, I don't know, it's just great to hear.
I appreciate that, Rob. It's my job, right? Like you're saying, the players' job is to go out there and do the best they possibly can. And same for the staff, is to do the best they can at getting things ready, making the experience good for everybody, getting the sponsorships in, keeping the club running. And my job for a couple of hours every week or so is to do the same. So be clear, be engaging, be funny when it's required, project. My mom would always say, project, breathe from the diaphragm. And be accurate, be exact. If we make sure that if they say this, and this is always an issue because they will bring the board up and bring it down quick for stoppage time. Make sure you look at the board with about 89 and a half on the clock, so you know exactly how many minutes we're going to get.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I take it seriously for any time I come in the booth and I clock in and the microphone's in front of me, whether it's high school. Roller derby is a volunteer sport, so nobody's ever getting paid for that, but I've always tried to do my absolute best job. And my friends and colleagues will tell you I'm the hardest on myself with this. If I miss something, I take it back with me. And they'll be like, no, it sounded like it was a great game. It sounded like you did really well. And I was like, well, I missed this, or I had to go back and correct this. And so I'm always trying to get better. Even if we've had a game that was great, I always think I could have done better in some way. And so that's why I try to keep improving, adding in new languages, maybe adjusting some reads, maybe saying some things a little bit differently.
Do you have a podcast also?
Yes, it's dormant right now. But I want to come back to it. It's called What's Good Radio. That was the name of my radio show on the undergrad college radio station, and I've kept it. And I restarted it during the pandemic. That was the last good run of episodes where I was just talking to people about what they did and what they found good about it, because it was a pandemic. We kind of needed a pick-me-up.
Yeah, for real. And are you from Chicago originally?
Yeah, born and raised on the South Side. That's awesome. See, I
And
got
so I
my
got
hat.
and that led to your love of Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly.
The listeners know, but I'll just tell you, I don't know if you've seen the Fulham. I stayed in the Premier League, but I chose Fulham for that same reason, because I grew up as a Green Bay Packer fan in the 1980s when they were terrible. And so, like, consistent mediocrity is where I'm comfortable. So Fulham has never won anything. They're always 11th in the table, you know. And when I picked up, Clint Dempsey was also playing there, so like that was a thing. But yeah, the misery of sport fandom is a real thing, right? Like is something we choose.
It makes the highs higher. That's the whole 100%, point.
100%. All right. Anything else from you, Ethan?
No, I think Chris has answered all our questions. I really appreciate a peek into the life of the PA guy.
Yes, this has been really, really fun to get to know you, Chris, and we will see you Saturday, or we'll hear you Saturday for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited. I will say, I don't know if it came up, but my favorite promotion that we've had in my time has been the Sandlot one, because these baseball jerseys, I love these things, man.
Those are nice,
they are
right?
fantastic. And it was cool that we had we got the guy out for the game from the movie. I think everybody got a big kick out of that.
That was great. And it's kind of sad they haven't done those as many this year. They haven't done the sort of the B-list celebrity, the wrestling guy or the guy from The Office, or they just haven't done that this year as much. And I can understand why. It's probably an expense and a hassle, but yeah, I kind of miss those a little bit.
There'll be more coming. You know, there's always something that our front office staff is cooking up. That's why I enjoy it.
Yep, they've always got something up their sleeve. All right, Chris Pennant, again, thank you so much for the time. It's been really fun.
Thanks a lot, guys. It's been a blast. Thanks for having me on.
All right, see you later.
And we're back, and we're going to move right into the question. Your answer has to also include why your answer is the only correct one.
I do that with all my answers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You already do it, but I thought I should just let other people give them permission. Window or aisle? It's a simple question, but it's also controversial, I think, for people. Window or aisle?
Aisle, so I can sleep on someone's shoulder.
Oh, no!
You can do that from the window. Just lean away from the window.
No. I need both options.
No!
I sleep on every plane ride.
Do you?
Doesn't matter how
I can't
long.
sleep on a plane ride. I can't, no matter how long it is.
For me, it's window. You notice it's not necessarily limited to planes. It's just any window.
I just said,
aisle.
yep. I did
So
not.
it's
I was not very.
bus,
Yeah, it could be a bus. It could be
train,
a car, like
car,
with your family.
Same thing.
I think I say window kind of for the same reason, because I don't want to lean on somebody's shoulder. I just want to lean on the wall of the plane, and also just like look out the window and watch the world go by.
I want them to complain about the guy that slept on their shoulder. I want that to be part of their journey story.
That's very
You want
generous.
to be in their origin story?
Abby?
Yeah, I got to go window as well. I think I like to know what's happening, especially on an airplane. Like I need to monitor the situation. Like I can't be unaware of what's going on outside.
We're all relatively not super tall people.
Yeah.
So we don't have the full leg room problem.
So, I'm sorry. Some of us argue otherwise.
Yeah. Well,
I have leg room issues.
I'm like 80% legs.
Yeah. Dare you, Rob? Make assumptions.
What's your?
So I'm actually. It's different for a place. If it's a bus or a train or a car that I am not driving, it's always window. But on a plane, it's always aisle. Because here's the thing. That window, when there's something like when the engine goes out, when that
You don't want to know.
like you all in the window going first and just go. It's fine. But I have time to like run away and survive.
Where are you running to?
I don't know. Down the aisle.
Further up the aisle.
Further up the aisle. Because here's the thing. I can see what's going on through your window if you have it open. I got it. I can see what's going on. I have maybe a little bit of a different angle, but I'm going to see it before you do that your part of the plane is about to be ripped open and you about to die.
Wait, which way are you running? Towards the cockpit or towards the back?
Probably towards the back if it's in the middle. If it's in the back, I'm running toward the front. Like I have a plan in my head, but to the back.
No,
but I feel like the back is always fine. It's always the like front or the middle of the plane that gets ripped out. from what I've seen.
I kind of prepared for disasters, not just like comfort.
I am prepared for
That's just
everything.
like being comfortable in the
No,
fight.
this is about how I survive in all scenarios, how I'm going to make it.
If we die on the plane, I will be asleep.
Yeah. You will absolutely be asleep by
Perfectly
the time.
fine.
Yeah. You'll be asleep until you'll miss it.
Take
Yeah.
off.
And I don't
That's the
sleep on
ideal
planes.
scenario.
Yeah, and
I'd
I
love
don't.
to miss it.
I don't sleep on planes, so that's why it's like I got to figure out how where I don't die. Like, am awake while I'm dying, and I'm like, so how far? I don't sleep on planes. If I was asleep, I'd be about a window. I'd be like, oh, if I die, I'm asleep. I'm okay.
You stay awake during the
Oh,
fall,
everything.
right?
Yeah.
You have to hear people.
And hear them snoring. Here's the thing. Ever since when we travel, we're a little bit of a big family. There's 6 of us when we're all traveling together. And I don't know how it happens that I'm always with the younger children in all scenarios.
Or they're easier to manage now, but
They were always good
they were
travelers, but
yeah.
they were still like talkative things and beings that wanted attention. So I never got to it just got to a point where, and I never slept on a plane because somebody was going to need me to do something. And then I was manager of like the stuff so I was always like, here's your thing over here in this aisle.
Here's
And here's the thing. I even make them individual snack bags on our plane rides, so I don't have to manage all their snacks. But someone's always like, I don't like this one. Do you have? Okay, let's trade over here. You can have this, and then I will make this work.
What's the strategy with kids? Do you still sit in the aisle, or do you sit in
No,
the
I
middle?
still sit. No.
Okay.
I still sit in the aisle unless they're fighting. Then we'll switch back and forth. If they fighting, and usually they're not fighting because they have their own. They genuinely like each other, except when they're exhausted.
Yeah.
So I'll sit in the middle and get them to go to sleep. Like everyone go to sleep and sleep on mommy, and then wake up and like.
And that's when you fall asleep.
No, that's my quiet time. Now it's my time to read, or listen to something, or play a game. That's my time now.
I'm telling you, nap on the plane, wake up. Oh, we're here. I'm refreshed. I can vacation
there is
forever.
No refreshing. Like I want to go to sleep when I get there, and then we'll go out and about. All right.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you again next week. 365 Amplified is produced and edited by me, Rob Chappell, and is a production of 365 Media Foundation, a nonprofit, local, independent media organization in Madison, Wisconsin. Wherever you're listening to this right now, hit the subscribe or follow button to get new episodes every Friday. And between episodes, get your latest news at Madison365.org and follow us on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Threads. Wherever you get your news, we'll be there.